This is the Dzogchen Sunday Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Wrong button. Come, let us explore what happens to your brain in visual emptiness, followed by meditating like a Jedi. Good morning, James Monahan. And by the way, Lama has one L. One L is Lama, two L's is Yama, the second being a South American beast of burden that chews its cud. So here we go. This morning's lesson is drawn from the Heart of Wisdom Sutra. So let's begin by reciting the Heart of Wisdom Sutra till we come to the passage upon which this morning's lesson is based. Let's see. I'm going to tap button 7. The noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, while practicing the deep practice of Prajnaparamita, the perfection of wisdom. By the way, I'm using the translation found in the book Zen Roots, a copy of which I've already sent to James last year. Looked upon the 5 skandhas, and seeing they were empty of self-existence, said, "Here, Shariputra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. Whatever is form is emptiness, whatever is emptiness is form. The same holds for feeling and appraisal, impulse and awareness. Here, Shariputra, all dharmas or phenomena are defined by emptiness, not by birth or destruction, purity or defilement, completeness or deficiency. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no appraisal, no impulse, and no awareness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, and no mind. No shape, no sound, no smell, no taste, no feeling, and no thoughts. No element of perception from eye to conceptual consciousness." So the bit that has been highlighted is the object of this morning's lesson. So quick like a bunny, I'm going to tap button 9 and drag us kicking and screaming to my set of visual aids. In Mahayana Buddhism, the term the 3 circles is used to describe emptiness, and it harkens back to a controversial collection of teachings attributed to the Buddha known as the Abhidharma. In fact, there are some who insist that the Heart Sutra is a response to the Abhidharma, and here's the interesting reason why. Age can be used to create an illusion of legitimacy. At one point there was no Buddha, then the Buddha appeared and he taught proto-Buddhism, and in time that devolved into institutional Buddhism. And one of institutional Buddhism's favorite arguments is, but this is the way we've always done it, because institutional anything doesn't care about the truth, it cares about shock and awe. So it should come as a little surprise that those who are devoted to the path of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel quite often have a gift for fiction and will make shit up and then attribute it to the Buddha. This is not unique to India. We see this in various cultures around the world. Some people call it post-revisionist historianism. So, three circles of visual emptiness sounds very mystical and magical, but it's not. It's super easy. And if someone makes it sound difficult, it's because they're a bad teacher. If someone makes it, my goal is to do such a good job of explaining it to you that you'll feel let down. And you'll be like, really? That's all it means? If you walk away with that feeling, then I've done a good job. So the template for the three circles of emptiness is the same, because we're going to play with 6 of them, including this lesson. But the pattern is the same: the organ, the object, the experience. So, what is the visual organ? Well, that would be the eyeball, wouldn't it? So, for this to make sense, we have to understand emptiness. Now, those, once again, who are devoted to the path of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, cannot help but make things difficult to understand. As people, you and I, who would rather traverse the path of being flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind, we can yank the idea of emptiness out of the clutches of those who are cryptic and elitist through the cunning tool of neuroscience. Dun, dun, dun. So, quick review. We'll begin with we're going to have a quick review of the 7th and 8th folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, mindfulness and meditation. We'll begin with mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we have evolved to automatically access the middle bit of our spinal cord, the middle bit of the hub of our autonomic nervous system, known as the hub of our sympathetic nervous system, which is a very fancy name. This bad boy has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way, and has evolved to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice all mind's antics of perception. You know, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings, all of them, from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. That begs the question, what do we do with all that which we noticed? The cryptic one-word answer is meditation. You see, every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we have evolved to automatically access the tippy top and the very bottom of that same spinal cord. Together, these two regions working as a team could be described as the hub of our parasympathetic nervous system, which have evolved to help us physically relax and mentally release during our exhalation to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and even as non-graspable as a vast empty void. When I was in 4th grade at Platt Ranch Elementary School in Woodland Hills, California, my teacher explained that a simile is only as effective as it is relatable. Therefore, we have to ask ourselves the question, what? What is a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn? For although the sky could look tantalizing to the eye, it feels non-graspable to the hand when we reach for it in vain. And so we see that whether we are talking about emptiness or whether we are talking about no self, we're simply playing with figures of speech that help to describe the visceral experience latent within each exhalation. An experience that is as temporary as our exhalation and that resets with every next new inhalation. So, I don't know about you, I mentioned this yesterday, but when I was a little boy, I would stand in the bathroom and just check out my eyeball in the mirror. And as we relax into our exhalation, whatever eyeball we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Until, of course, the next inhalation, when it feels entirely graspable again. Let's explore this to a second level. Every time we relax into our exhalation, every visual object that we notice during our previous inhalation, whether it's a sunrise, whether it's a flower, whether it's the smiling face of a dear friend, whether it's a kitty cat or a doggy, whatever sight we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and even as non-graspable as a vast empty void. And now we come to the third circle, which is a little bit more subtle. So brace yourself. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever awareness, whatever visual awareness we noticed during our previous inhalation. So visual awareness is not the organ. Visual awareness is not the object. Visual awareness is not the object of the organ. Visual awareness is that part of our mind that treats our eyeball the way our computer treats a camera, a webcam. It's part of the software of our mind that treats our eyeball as just a tool with which to interface with the outside world. Back in the 50s, there were many cheap and cheesy sci-fi movies that depicted a brain disembodied in a jar full of liquid in the laboratory of a mad scientist. In fact, Metallica did a music video based on one of those movies, or tangentially related to one of those movies. And so yes, of course, you can expect me to say, and it would be correct to say that as we relax into our exhalation, the part of our mind that is capable of experiencing visual awareness could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and even as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now we have to ask the $64,000 question, so what? What's the big deal of getting into the minutia of an experience that is temporary and fleeting and unstable, regardless of how much stress it generates or doesn't generate, regardless of how much pleasure it generates or doesn't generate? Why do we do this? One of the fun things about it is this acts like, you ever hear the phrase, like a hot knife through a stick of butter? When I was married many decades ago, me and my wife would occasionally go to, I think it was Red Lobster, and they would serve us bread and butter. But the butter was served in those little foil things. I should say, the pads of butter were served in little foil things in a saucer of ice water. How do you spread chilled butter? You can't. In the words of Bugs Bunny, what a maroon. And so, in that situation, me and my wife, we would grab our knives and hold it over the candle to get it warm so that we could somehow spread butter upon our rolls, because clearly we were one roll away from starvation. By playing with this rather complex deconstruction of visual experience that smacks of the Mahasatipatthana Sutta in its latter passages, it helps us to transcend the illusion of solidity. There is an illusion of permanence, that if something sucks, it's going to suck forever. It'll only get worse. And that can trigger our darkest survival instincts, make us cranky and frightened and desperate, and do very, very bad things. By playing with this notion of the three circles of visual emptiness, it helps to dispel the illusion of the permanence and the solidity of our experience. It helps us to define ourselves by our stressors a little bit less, which can give us some breathing room between stimulus and response. Having completed our opening lesson, let us remember that it was drawn from a passage in the Heart Sutra. And let us return now to the Heart Sutra and complete this morning's recitation. So, this is a part of an enormous run-on sentence, so allow me to remind you of the context. The context is, in emptiness, ellipse, there is, together, no causal link from ignorance to old age and death, or end of causal link from ignorance to old age and death. No stress, no source, no relief, no path. No knowledge, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra is just a proper noun, it's someone's name. Therefore, Shariputra, without attainment, Bodhisattvas take refuge in Prajnaparamita, the perfection of wisdom, and live without walls of the mind. Without walls of the mind, and thus without fears, we see through delusion and attain the awareness and release that is nirvana. All Buddhas, let's try this again to see if I can fit that in there. All Buddhas past, present, and future also take refuge in Prajnaparamita, the perfection of wisdom, and realize the unexcelled, perfect mastery of love and letting go that is enlightenment. We should therefore know the great mantra of Prajnaparamita, the perfection of wisdom, the great knowledge mantra, the unexcelled mantra. The mantra equal to the unequaled, which heals all suffering and is true, not false. The mantra of Prajnaparamita, the perfection of wisdom, is thus spoken. Gate, gate, para sam gate, bodhi swaha. Gone, gone, perfectly and completely gone, to liberation, may it be so. Or, may all beings master, releasing, perfectly and completely releasing into freedom. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. For Meditate Like a Jedi is made possible thanks to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of this morning's live stream, together, let us sit and breathe and notice and relax. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation or philosophy, or Buddhist or Taoist meditation or philosophy, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions about every 10 minutes or so. Let me check the time real quick. It's 25 minutes after the hour. That means we've got about 30 minutes to meditate. Good to know. The most efficient way for us to gently invite our subtle energies to coalesce in our lower abdomen is a three-part process. First, we assume the universal mudra, wherein our right hand rests in our left and our thumbs gently touch. Second, we touch the tip of our right little finger to its thumb. Do the same thing with our left. Third, we rest this whole mishigas in our lap. The most efficient way for us to gently invite our subtle energies to coalesce at the crown of our head is threefold. Number one, we place our right hand palm up and our left hand thumbs touching. Number two, we touch the tip of our right index finger to its thumb, and do likewise with our left index finger. And number three, we place this whole assembly in our lap, palms up. Let us continue to sit and breathe and notice and relax. The most efficient way to gently invite our subtle energies to coalesce in our chest is for us to touch the tip of our right middle finger to its thumb and do likewise with our left. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening recitation, explanation, and practice of meditating like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.